Hello and welcome to the Awakened Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Kaki Lee, and my mission is to share the love and wisdom of inspiring women from around the world who have gone through adversity and turned their pain into purpose. Today, I'm so excited to share the love and wisdom of certified intuitive business coach and the creator of the growth method, as well as the soul and wealth color healing modalities, Johanna Gardner, who is joining me all the way from Texas, USA. Welcome, Johanna.
Yay! I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on the Awaken Feminine podcast. Do you mind sharing with us in a couple of sentences who you are and what you do, because you're the expert of you?
Oh my goodness. Well, currently I'm an intuitive business coach. So I basically provide intuitive insights of why you might not be making the money that you want to be making in your business. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
a short sentence.
Yep. That is short and sweet and to the point. Thank you for sharing that. So, before we dive into your journey, I really love you to share with us what your definition of an awakened feminine is.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's really about curiosity, really. I think that inevitably anybody who's on an awakened path is somebody who's really curious about life in all aspects of life, right? How does the trees grow? How does the sun shine? How does the moon go through its cycles? That kind of curiosity allows for you to be awake and present to what is in our circumstances. And of course then you can go deeper in terms of awakened
Mm,
in reference to what am I, who am I, asking the really deep questions of life. And that really creates an impetus to understand what we are, what we're doing here.
yeah.
And that for me is very much an awakened person who's
Yeah.
constantly on the path of curiosity.
Yeah, that's a beautiful definition. Thank you for sharing that. So, Joanna, I really love to dive into your journey now. I know you are a successful seven-figure real estate mogul and you also owned a hotel. You owned a hotel. So, before you started into this business coaching space. So, can you share with us what took you down this path and what did it look like for you? Did you have a spiritual awakening or a aha moment where you went, you know what? I don't want to be a real estate mogul or hotel owner anymore. I'm going to go this way.
Right. Well, so I was born in England. If you can't tell my British accent, I'll say
Yes, I can
water.
tell.
I'm currently in Texas, as you announced. However, I had really crazy journey traveling all over the world. Born in England, raised in Hong Kong, went to boarding school in England. But when I was 19, I became a single mother. Um, and I decided that right there and then I want to become a millionaire. Just, just that was just a simple request, right? And so I was constantly trying to investigate, well, how do these millionaires happen, and just so curious about money. And there I dived into really learning about money and really fascinated about it. But about 10 years later, I ended up becoming a real estate investor because I was so curious about um, making money, and I didn't really enjoy my job that I was working at the time. From there, then I went, skydived into it as I usually do anything in my life, and ended up buying about $7.5 million worth of real estate in about 4 years or so, with none of my own money. And then at the peak of my portfolio, I had 97 mortgage payments to pay a month, a hotel on the Riverwalk in San Antonio, and a five-star wedding business that I was running. So it was definitely a crazy journey for that side of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I would so love to dive deeper into that. But I just wanted to ask you, what made you decide that you didn't want to do all of those things anymore since you were so successful in running, the real estate business, your hotel, your wedding business? What made you decide to go into the coaching space?
Well, so simultaneously, when I was about I was in my early 20s, and I had a car accident. And from then on, I sort of woke up. I was really interested in going to psychic affairs. I had always been intuitive. And all of a sudden, was just so hungry for all these things. I thought that these intuitive people had something. So during that time, I went to workshops. I read every single book. I was reading Cryon in the early 1990s, so then I became a Reiki master in 1995. And from there, I started really expanding my intuitive abilities. But it wasn't really making me the money that I had aspired to make. So simultaneously, I kind of just put that on the back burner. It was always part of my true inner being, but then I went into real estate. So the circle of the story is that while I was in real estate, 2008 happened in the United States, and everything crashed.
Mm.
I had really dropped my attention on my spirituality, even though it was very present. I always did meditations, and I was actually doing certified yoga programs, to keep myself calm through the chaos. However, it really wasn't the forefront of what I was doing. And then in 2010, in the space of 6 months, my mother in law, who had been working for us for about 3 years at the hotel, she had found out that her daughter was dying of lung cancer. And so I had to fire her because she was very worried about finances.
Mm.
And about a couple months later, unfortunately, she took her own life. And then 4 months later, my sister in law died of lung cancer. A month later, we went bankrupt the same weekend. My son, my darling son, graduated from high school.
Oh my
And then my
goodness.
husband just really couldn't handle all the stress. So we ended up getting divorced later. From that, I lost everything. I lost every aspect of myself. Being a wife, being a mother, being a millionaire, being a homeowner. Like I was just devastated on so many different levels, and that really kind of plowed me into the question of who am I?
Mm.
Am I really a millionaire? Is that my identity? Am I really a wife? Is that my identity? Am I homeowner? These kinds of labels that I had put on myself from an external source was suddenly, just taken away.
Yeah.
And I was stripped of all those labels that I could necessarily bounce myself off of, and allow for my ego to feel safe and comfortable with that labeling on the external. And so it really kind of, like, all my spiritual work that I had done already just kind of came to the forefront. I, of course, manifested all kinds of physical ailments, health problems. And so I just went knee deep into back into my spirituality, and started becoming more and more present and utilizing all the tools that I had used, kind of taken for granted on the back burner, and really brought
Mm.
them into the forefront. In 2014, I ended up selling the hotel and kind of collapsed, and decided that I didn't really want to build this external me. I wanted to build this internal me,
Yeah.
and realized that that was really the heart of who I wanted to be, was that extension of the internal joy and the bliss and the love that I had started to really create for myself, and had really share that with others. And that then exploded my intuitive abilities. I just kind of went really full blast, as I usually do on anything,
Yeah.
into coaching, because it allowed for me to have the flexibility of my schedule, where I could really nurse my physical health back, as well as my emotional and psychological and mental health as
Yeah.
well. And from all that inner work, I learned so many tools that it was inevitable that I just automatically share them, because that just brought me so much joy.
Yeah. Wow, what a big, big journey you have been through. That is just wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it is, a personal journey. I want to ask you, I mean, going into bankruptcy and losing everything, and I know you were doing a lot of, you were already doing a lot of work on yourself, and then obviously you kind of dive deeper into really, help with the healing process of what's happened. Can you share with us what are some of the tools or modalities that were really helpful in you getting through that period of, bankruptcy and losing, your family? You had the divorce, and it went bankrupt. Your family members died. Yeah, what were some of the things that really helped you get through it?
Well, first of all, I will always go back to Reiki. Reiki was my first modality that I ever encountered, and luckily, my a teacher was an artist as well. I've been an artist. I'm an international and caustic artist, published, sold thousands of dollars worth of artwork, of one of my
Yeah, I know
other
you.
talents, um, and very passionate about art. But when I when I dived into Reiki, I realized that I wanted to communicate what energy is and frequency and vibration. And it all has a color, and those colors actually have a whole language. And from there, then I created my own modality to be able to identify all the chakras, the soul colors, um, the intuitive insights that you can gather just by tapping into somebody's name, which is their frequency.
Yeah.
So that was kind of working on the background, but there have been so many different modalities. I think yoga and breath work, some of my favorite teachers, Joe Dispenser and Byron Katie and Eckhart Tolle, and so many different teachers along the way obviously have created this modge podge of all these different modalities that I've really kind of honed in on and celebrated and utilized in my own work. But the second largest influence of my personal work that I do today is constellation works, family constellation work, and I'm a certified constellation facilitator, and that really blew my mind in terms of how the energetic field, has all the answers, has all the magic.
Yeah.
Um, so for me right now, currently, that's what I really focus in on and utilize in my work on a day-to-day basis with clients. And um, if they're stuck on some belief system, it really helps. So definitely baby steps after 27 years of doing almost everything,
Yeah.
like the stretch from, belief work to UFOs, those, anything, because obviously if I go by my own definition of awakened woman, I'm curious about
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And I had a session with you, and it was um, you drawing the aura around me, and I was just so blown away because, since I started on my journey, like you at the beginning, is like so hungry for everything. And it always blows my mind when someone that you don't know from above, so she doesn't know you, and from across the world, she can tap into your energy, draw a picture of you and your auras, and then tell you exactly what is going on and what you need. And I'm just like, what is this? What is
I
this?
know, right? I
Yeah.
know. As I teach the modality to other students, and many of them have gone in to create their own businesses and utilized the modality in so many different ways. Because ideally, I really wanted to hone in on the frequency and vibration, right? And Nikola Tesla says, if you want to understand if you want to understand the universe, then you have to understand frequency and vibration,
Yeah.
because that's what we're made of. And so for me, being an artist, understanding the language of color and teaching people the language of color, then all of a sudden you just map those two things together with your emotional state, right? So if you're sensitive, you can use your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, clairsentience,
Yeah.
claircognizance, and use your abilities to to kind of feel into the energetic frequency and then map it to a color, and then all of a sudden there's like a whole dictionary of information that's available to you.
Yeah, and it's absolutely amazing because I'm from a very science-based background. I used to be a pharmacist. So before awake, starting my journey, it was like, this shit ain't real. Right? And then you start going, this shit is real.
Yeah, it's all that it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All the other stuff is a whole bunch of books that somebody else made up, right?
Yeah.
For sure. There's science. We are just on the surface,
Mm,
really. And in the early 90s, to be honest, there wasn't very much reference for what I was sort of downloading from the universe. I would ask questions, and there wouldn't be a book, or like, there wasn't the internet at the time,
yeah.
and I couldn't ask, what is this? And I just intuitively understood that when I sent Reiki, when I sent the intention of my frequency to another person, that I saw in my mind's eye the electromagnetic field, and I could see the light transferring, because we're all so interconnected, right? And quantum physics now actually really validated all that, but it took 20 plus years. I was like, come
Yeah.
on, people, like, hurry up. So I think that, especially those of us who are curious, we're actually tapping into an incredible opportunity for science to catch up,
Yes.
because really it's like, oh, we didn't think about frequency and vibration, like
Yeah.
the tuning forks, and being able to manage our energetic systems, and these things have been available to us, but they've been somewhat squished in mainstream. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
I definitely do believe that science is catching up to everything. And yeah, it's just amazing how it all works, where we are made up of energy and vibration. And it's so beautiful now that I'm open to this side of things, to really being able to marry it up, and explain to people, the sciencey people, you know. Uh,
And still, you can explain all day long, they still think you're
yeah. But
crazy.
I find it interesting because you feel it yourself, right? You feel energy. When you see someone and they're happy, you can feel their energy. If they're sad, you can feel the energy. Yet, because science can't validate it, it's not real. It makes no sense.
Yeah, well, and science can't validate it because we haven't created the tools,
Yeah,
right? But when we create the tools, then obviously, I mean, the emotion, which is energy in motion, is
yeah,
part of our physicality. It's an antenna for us to be able to tell. It's information from our subconscious mind to be able to tell us whether we're going into danger or not.
yeah,
It's whether we listen to it or not,
yeah,
is the
exactly.
question. And I remember my son, he was 6 years old or 7. I think he was going on his birthday. And he came in and he was crying. He was all upset. And, I'm gonna die on my birthday. And I was like, what? How cool is that? And he was like,
What?
I didn't get that response from anybody else. And I said, heaven is amazing. They got the angels there, and it's going to be so much fun. You're going to be able to play anytime you want. I mean, you can have so many beautiful angels to work with, and blah, 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 blah. And he was like, okay.
Mum.
Yeah, wasn't expecting that answer. So he went off, he wasn't crying anymore. And then about an hour later, he came to me and he said, well, how do you know? And I said, about what? And he said, well, how do you know heaven's good? And I said, okay, close your eyes, give me your hand. And then, I touched him, and I said, open your eyes. And he goes, I said, what did I do? And he says, well, you drew a circle in my hand. And I said, well, how do you know? He said, because I feel it. I said, well, yeah, that's how I feel about heaven, because we feel things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We know things. We
Yeah,
know so much more than we can even imagine. And we have an innate truth within us that is just truth. It doesn't move, it doesn't change, it doesn't manipulate, it just is. Love is, and love is all there is.
yeah,
Everything else is an illusion.
yeah,
And when you tap back into that, you have such an incredible opportunity to really experience life.
yeah. Oh, that's
And yeah, for those who are not experiencing life right now, there is that opportunity. And
yeah.
I invite you to come visit because it's really fun.
It is. It is very fun. It is definitely very fun. I want to ask you, Joanna, you were saying that you were reading a lot of books and there's certain teachers, people that, that really influence your work. Well, are there any particular books that really, changed your life or made a big impact in your journey?
Absolutely. The number one book that I will always mm, associate with my grand awakening was I was born and raised Roman Catholic. So I spent the whole of my childhood in Catholic boarding schools and nunneries and things like that.
Yeah,
And I was told that I couldn't talk to God.
yeah,
Um, I was told that in order for that I talk to God, then I have to go to the priest.
yeah,
And my grandmother was so religious, she wouldn't even call my son by his name because it wasn't in the Bible. It was, very, very religious environment. And so I think my son was about a year, so I was about 20. And I found, actually, a girlfriend had left this book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, I read this book that if you're not familiar with the book, it's very much about it's sort of like this conversation with God that Neil has. And it gave me permission to have a conversation with God by myself.
yeah,
And from then on, I was I was just awakened in this realization that there was this nice benevolent God that I could communicate with. Now, of course, he didn't communicate with me all the time.
yeah,
Most of the time, most of the conversation was one way. But I inevitably started finding God in everything,
mm,
right? And that's when I really apply Neil's opportunity to be curious about going outside of the rules, coloring outside of the lines.
mm,
The other large influencer, I suppose, would be Katie Byron or Byron Katie.
yeah,
She is probably the most enlightened woman that I have, really been able to meet, and um, she she really has identified that every belief that we have causes our suffering,
yeah,
and if we are curious about our suffering, we'll inevitably smack dab face plant into a belief that
yeah,
is causing an illusion into our lives. And so Katie she's just so wonderful in the expression of life and love and being present to all that is.
yeah,
Um, I do have current favorites, or definitely Dr. Joe Dispenza, but I'm also very scientific as well, because I'm curious about how biology works, and
mm,
I can't say that I'm the best book smart, but I'm definitely street smart, and I really loved how um, Dr. Bruce Lipton really talks about how
mm,
the DNA is not the instructor of the cell, it
yeah,
is the field. And that really kind of blends into my curiosity about the field and working in constellation work, and really investigating, well, what is in this quantum physics, this field that we're kind of submerged into, and
yeah,
how does it communicate? How
yeah,
does it inform us
yeah.
as
I do.
humanity, and also the species, the world, and how are we? all collectively working together.
Yeah. Awesome. I just discovered Bruce Lipton, so I'm quite fascinated that you talked about him because he talks about how, people say, oh, it's in our DNA. That's how, how it is, but it's not. It's, there's a lot of things that can influence and actually we can change our DNA. So it's very interesting, definitely his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute breakthrough, and I wish that more, it would be more adopted throughout science. But I think that, in 50 to 100 years, that breakthrough will,
Yeah.
inform us, right? And be a baseline for other things. But another one is Cryon. I'm very interested in Lee Carroll's work. He became a channel of what he calls Cryon.
Mm.
In the 1990s, I found his books, and he only started channeling just a few years before that. So, big, huge influencer in terms of the knowledge and the expertise that he brings of the planetary evolution of the awakening that's happening
Yeah.
for all of us.
Wow.
Greg Braden. Yeah, I have so many favorites.
Yeah. Cool. I'll be adding some of those onto my list because I have not actually, read The Crown on. Yeah, actually,
Oh,
yeah.
so good. So good.
Awesome. And I trust if you say it's good, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, well, I've been a follower of his for like 27 years. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely on your
Oh,
list.
get ready to be mind blown, right? Yeah.
Yeah, all of them have an abundance of materials on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
Cryon actually, he has a weekly, and his partner have a session every Wednesday, and it's free, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful to be to hear the updates of how Earth's evolving.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh, awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Um, so, Joanna, I want to ask you, having gone through everything that you have gone through, what do you believe is the biggest lesson that you've learned so far?
that you cannot control anyone else. You
Yeah.
are it. You're it. You are the classroom, right? Um, you are the creator of your reality, and everything is happening for you, not to you.
Yeah.
Everything, and from there, if you take that really to heart, and you can hold that in every experience, every trigger, every relationship, every you're if you stay in this state of curiosity, not in, well, you should be doing that and you can't be doing that and blah 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 blah. You're in the state of suffering when you're trying to create that, and also you're continually perpetuating it.
Yeah.
Every instance, every situation, every interaction has a beautiful message, and it always comes back to love.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And we touched on this a little bit before about moving forward and starting the awakening process. So I know there's a lot of people listening to us right now that are probably in that stage where they're experiencing things that they're not used to, starting their awakening journey. What advice or recommendation or tip, whatever it is, that do you have for them to, just take that step and get into that curiosity?
Mm. Well, I think probably most people find themselves in a state of complete chaos, and then wake up from that because of the suffering. It's so much that they can't withstand their own environment anymore, right? It's
Yeah.
like Guru says, if you're not happy all by yourself in a room, then you're really bad company, aren't you? So it's the acknowledgement that you can you can't you have a choice, right? And so if you're in a state of knowing that there is a choice, you can, I think the universe is benevolent, and that there are signs everywhere. There are signs when you go in traffic, and there's the license plate and it has 333 on it, and Google 333, the spiritual meaning of 333, right? That's a sign. There's a book that just sort of falls out of the bookcase. Open it up and use it as an oracle. There are beautiful benevolent signs, but like I'm always asking my angels, I was like, oh, well, what song do I need for this particular problem? And I'll just put it on shuffle, and inevitably I'll hear a song that will heal my heart in some way, because there's so much support. There's so much love around all of us.
Yeah.
Allowing for you to receive that
Yeah.
is a big step in being brave. Allowing yourself to receive the benevolence of the universe is incredible gift, not only to yourself but others. So the tip is to really, really breathe in the knowing that there's a choice.
Yeah.
And everything changes. In Texas we have the saying, the weather's bad right now, but just wait 10 minutes and it will change. Inevitably, no matter how much suffering I went through with my story, every part of the grief and the sorrow and the should have, and the beating up of my own psyche and the judgment of how it went down, it just led me to more and more practicing, more loving of myself.
Yeah.
And I found that as I continue to love myself, I receive more, I love more. It's one of the practices that I'm doing right now is, as soon as I wake up, I scheduled my time very, very purposefully, so that when I wake up, I have a lot of time to integrate my sleep and whatever happened that evening. And so I don't really start work until later on in the day, but it allows for me to, because my kids are up and grown and having the kids on their own now, but
Yeah.
just having that purposeful time where I stop my brain from thinking about all the crazy things that are in my schedule, or the things that I need to get done and all that other stuff. It's no, take this 5 minutes and remember all the things you love about your life. Remember, oh, I remember that I love my mother, and I remember the laugh that she had when I talked to her yesterday, or I love my children, and really bring that state of love into your experience right off the bat. Like, just do it. And then I spend a lot of time outside in nature. I do the love practice and then go outside and just breathe in the trees, because they're producing beautiful oxygen as I exhale all my carbon dioxide to them, and allow for that symbiotic relationship to really flow and be part of life. It's a really important practice, being present, and you'll find that there's so much support that will just magically appear in your life if you're open to it.
Yeah.
If you're not, then
Yeah.
sometimes it will hit you over the head with it, and
Yes.
sometimes with suffering.
Yeah.
So if you're suffering, I always tell my clients, it's like, if you're suffering, there must have been a sign along the way that says wrong direction.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like, hello,
They're trying to
hello,
tell
hello.
you it's
And
the
then,
wrong way. Go back that way.
yeah. And if you don't listen, it's like,
Oh, so much. So exactly.
there.
And then finally you just go, okay, fine, I get it.
Yeah.
So much. Yes.
Yeah.
Pain is
We
a really
laugh.
great teacher.
Yeah,
For
we
sure.
laugh because we probably have experienced it before. I
Oh
definitely.
my goodness. Yes. I think, inevitably, whenever I see somebody suffering, I have to purposefully just, okay, just, because that later on they're going to laugh about this. The belief that they had about that particular thing, and the grief and the sorrow and the anger and the drama and then, I often, it's not that I don't get triggered very much anymore, or triggered at all, but sometimes when that happens, I just remind myself, am I really gonna remember this in 6 months? Is this really going to affect my life forever? And if it's, you know like, I can't even think that it's going to impact me, then I just have to let it go. I have to get to that point where I'm not gonna let it control my day.
Yeah.
I have to seek freedom from that,
Yeah.
because it's in my head. It's in here.
Yes. Love that. Thank you so much for that. That was awesome. I want to ask you, you talked about self-love practices, and because self-love was a big thing, or it still is a big thing for me to keep working towards. What does it mean to you? Like, what does self-love actually mean to you when people talk about self-love?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. Self-love is every single opportunity that you can come back to the now. Because if you come back to presence, there is nothing but love in this now. Um, so what I mean by that is every situation has the opportunity to be in a state of joy and love and acceptance of what is, right?
Yeah.
Now, that specific process is pretty far, it's kind of on the other end of mastery, right? So for those of you who are just starting out on the self-love process, they just woke up and they went, oh, I got to do this self-love thing. The self-love is literally being able to first know that there's a choice that you can get out of this suffering. And I've witnessed so many people, of course, I've been in it too, where you're in this state of just perpetual drama, and you're so addicted to the chemistry that is being created by this 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 thought, right? Because it all starts up here, and then the thought creates the chemistry, and then the chemistry perpetuates more chemistry, and then you're in the cortisol rush, and it's amazing, right? And the adrenaline, and it's all pumping, and we get addicted to that for sure. So baby, micro steps of saying, do I want to stay in this state? Allowing for whatever you can do to get out of that state as absolutely as fast as possible. That will help you be in a state of more love. But as you continue, like, loving yourself, right? Being able to just take a time out when your children are going crazy. Because ultimately, if you're not in a state of love, your children are not going to learn it.
Yeah.
Remembering to go and have, like, write a list of things that you absolutely fulfill your heart. And we have 5 love languages, right? And we all get our love bucket changed. It's in a different category. And knowing what your love bucket is and making sure that it's full, so that you can give the surplus of that away.
Yeah.
That's self-love. And even now, the micro little things of choosing a work that you love to do. It's rather audacious being self-loving. Choosing to eat the things that really are going to create a state of love within the harmony within the planet, within your own soul. um, Taking time out really to ask yourself, what do you like?
Yeah.
People don't even ask themselves what they like. They don't even
No.
know what they like.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me. Like, I think I've been extremely audacious, and I've lost some friends because of it. Because I'm so audacious, I was like, excuse me, I can get more time, or I can get more money, I can get a bigger house, I can get more fancy cars, blah blah, but I can't get more time,
Yeah.
right? So being able to acknowledge that this time is important, and knowing that the more love that I embody, the more love that I can share with others.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. And the
Yeah.
less, you know, like my life used to be drama, drama, drama. 97 mortgage payments, a hotel, and wedding business. I mean, it was drama. Um, there wasn't any time for me. And there wasn't even like I had just gotten on the conveyor belt, and I didn't even have the opportunity to question whether I wanted to be on this or not. It was empty.
Yeah.
So having the audacity to say no is really
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, I got full tingles. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. That's such, yeah, it's so beautiful. It is, being back into being in that place of love and asking yourself what it is that you want to do. Because, I speak to my clients and they're like, well, I don't know if I don't do this, like this career, I don't know what it is I want to do, because they've never actually stopped to ask themselves. And it's really sad because I used to be that person, right? And you used to be that person. But yeah, once you take the time, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to, really do things that light you up and make you happy, which fills your love buckets, which then
Right?
allows it to spill out to others. So yeah, just love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. So, Joanna, before we wrap up, I mean, I've just loved our conversation today. I just love you and I love your energy. I love your wisdom. I want to ask you, what is currently setting your soul on fire?
So many things, right? Because as you know now, my secret start of the day is everything that I love. But in terms of work, I'm doing the energy healing circles every week, and I'm really loving those circles because we're literally going into the field and we're asking the field many, many questions about the new earth. I believe that we are in a state of awakening. We're getting to a point in our evolution as humans that technology is growing so fast that it will inevitably, we have to make a moral choice.
Mm,
What are we going to do with this artificial intelligence? Is it going to be smart enough to destroy us, or are we going to utilize it to spread more benevolence throughout the world? I think it's a really, really important time in our history, in our humanity. For from that, I think what I consider the new earth is being able to have answered that question and utilizing artificial intelligence for our own progression, for our own evolution. And as artificial intelligence becomes more and more prevalent throughout society, things will become, medical intervention will be so vastly different within 10 years.
yeah.
Um, our ability to communicate will be so different. All these technologies that are available to us now will drastically change the way that we focus things, um, and our priorities in life. And so, being able to bring that into our awareness, and through the circles that I'm doing that, and really focusing in on the new earth, and what are we seeding, what are we creating in our next evolution of humanity.
Yeah.
That's my fun curiosity right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know I wanted to join your healing circle, but you're all the way in Texas and the time difference made it not possible. So, yeah, but
Yes,
I'll be excited to catch the replays.
thank you.
So, thank you so much, Joanna, for your time today. If people want to find out more about you and how they can work with you, where should they go?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's johannagardner.com. So it's Johanna Gardner, Gardner.com. That's really the starting point. I have a beautiful Facebook group with over 14,000 people, healers, psychics, intuitives, really heart centered people. And we do all kinds of different things in that group where we're really collaborating with each other. I just got like, um, but 5,000 people saw this post of being able to collaborate and offer their services, because I think that a lot of light workers are really suffering right now and they're stuck in their belief systems. And so we do fun things like that where we collaborate with each other and help support each other as we continue growing our businesses, which are really an extension of our love for each other.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. I have all your details and any recommended resources in the show notes so people can find you. Thank you once again for your time and your beautiful presence.
Oh, such a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah,
Honored.
thank you. And until next time, I love you, I believe in you, and you're worth taking that step to the life of your dreams.